Yeah.
Now we are online. Ta-da-da.
Okay, wow.
Yeah. Now we are with Evren and Helena. So you better introduce yourself maybe and our topic. So this will be our last afternoon session, let's say, the lunch session that we called. Maybe I can go a little bit in Turkish to finalize this introduction. Bu bizim Bienal boyunca yapacağımız son öğle konuşması daha doğrusu. Bundan sonra Bienal içerisinden yayınımız olmayacak. Bu videoyu izleyenler için bu son duyuru bu anlamda. Evren Uzer'le beraber geçen haftalar içerisinde hızlıca yapmak zorunda kaldığımız bir 30 dakikalık, yani yaklaşık 40 dakikaya doğru onu çekiştirerek uzattığımız bir program vardı. Onun üstüne de daha geniş konuşabileceğimiz pek çok şeyden bahsettik aslında kendi aramızda. Şimdi o bizle beraber tekrardan ve Helena artık aramızda. Onlar şimdi hem bir yandan kendilerini İngilizce olarak tanıtırlarken ben de canlı yayının linkini paylaşıyor olacağım. So yeah, Evren, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting back.
Yeah, and Helena, nice to meet you. And
Nice to meet you too.
great.
I can just make a small introduction, perhaps. So I was a part of this discussion in last week or 10 days ago. So my background is in urban planning, and I work currently at the School of Design and Crafts at Gothenburg University in Sweden. And after we did the initial talk, which was having some content in relation to participation and conflict and inviting more conflict inside the participatory processes, or when we're working with communities, I thought that it would be great to include Helena Hansson, who's a PhD student here at HDK School of Design and Crafts, and doing a very interesting project which she will kind of talk about. And we thought with Helena that she can talk a little bit about her work, and then we can go on into detail working in an alien environment with the tools that we are trained to use, but not really working in the field, and how we can adjust and how we can work with them. So maybe, yeah, we can, and Helena was very kind to accept it in a short notice, but we did a very fruitful 20-minute brainstorming yesterday, so we're very confident in it.
Yes. Okay, should I start?
Please, yeah.
Okay, my name is Helena Hansson, and my background is industrial design, and I did my studies at the University of Umeå up north, and that was in the mid-90s, and then I've been working as a design consultant for many years and running my own studio with other designers, but I also have been working as a teacher, mainly at the School of Design and Craft, in a parallel life, you can say. So, and I have used actually my pedagogical skills in my design work and vice versa. So when I got the opportunity to be a PhD student, my interests were in how to use this design knowledge and support the craft communities that I have been introduced to in Kenya. And my PhD is connected to a transdisciplinary research platform in Kisumu, in the western part of Kenya, and we had to set up our own projects, and my work has been mainly about identifying interesting people and mapping resources that you could work together with and do things with. So the first resource that I got in contact with is it's an invasive plant. It's called the water hyacinth. So it has invaded the Lake Victoria. And I met some people already in 2011 where they used this plant to make crafts from. But I could see that there were many initiatives ongoing, but they were not connected. and they had problems with getting access to market. And I thought that could be an interesting starting point for my research. So when I started, I've been acting as a designer all the time during my research so far, and now my case, I kind of have closed it now, and I will start reflecting on what have I actually been doing and what have we achieved and what is the impact of our work. Mm-hmm. But what it is about is to connect different actors with interest in this field and build a kind of network community. And so we are linking craftsmen from different small villages in Kenya, and we have I have introduced them to a faith-based organization, with a Swedish faith-based organization that works in Kenya. I have linked them to a crafts entrepreneur that is really good at organizing and also training craftsmen in craft. And I also have introduced a Swedish company that produces craft from all over the world, and also they actually have marketplaces in Sweden and sell products that they have produced in Sweden, and they are it's a quite famous brand, and they're quite successful. So I have kind of been the one that have identified these different resources or competencies, put them together in a net, and then we have started jamming. And the result so far has been, if you've seen this, like these are baskets produced by the company called Afro Art. And it's now in production, and you can see that by having these baskets produced now, you can develop, the network develops, because you have a result, you show the abilities, and we have also built a virtual platform through Facebook, so everyone have access to Facebook, and we have created a group where we can discuss issues, we can put up pictures, movies, and as soon as we have a result, we post it and people can comment on it. So even if I have only done like 5 trips to Kenya in about 12 weeks in total, we have almost daily contact through Facebook, and that really keeps the net together, I would say. So we are about 25 people involved in this Facebook group, that not everyday contact, but, and I think that has been an interesting way of working, where my design skills are not really, the main focus is not really the giving form to the objects, but I design interventions both in practice, I mean in real life, but also in the virtual world, where I test ideas, I see potentials in things, I prototype to get some feedback from the others, and through this very active role, even if I'm not the actual form giver, I see that these objects and interventions acts like catalysts that make people come together, and they get a lot of inspiration, and we can the process moves on by using this as kind of a strategical tool in a way. I'm not sure if I should.
Yeah. The project has many layers. I just want to kind of emphasize like how we could look at it, like it connects to a local network of basket weavers, and it has this dimension of using this invasive plant which is covering a big lake in the area, and because it covers the surface of it, it cuts the connection or the sunlight, so it kills the life in the lake as long as it kind of covers the lake. So it's a very good thing that environmentally that this material, the water hyacinths, are being used for something. And oops, someone else came.
Someone else is also online now, so yeah.
So the water hyacinths are being used, and they are also being consumed, and they're turned into these design objects as well, and they're being marketed at different places. So
and the interesting thing is that, I mean, it started with products, but now we can see that actually in Kenya that they have also started to design or to package the process behind. So people get really interested in how to really make this happen. I mean, make the basket. So tourists, but also children, are taught how to do this. So it's kind of this co-creation activity that you can take part of. So they are about to learn how to package this and offer that to people, that they see the environmental change very, in a very concrete manner. So it's and that is kind of a what do you say, an effect of this, that, and so it's not only the products, but it actually starts to change the behavior or the way you look at the local resources around you.
Maybe we can talk about, I think there's one thing very important when one gets a project, whether it's like a funded project for a certain period of time, or it's a PhD project, or like a masterclass that there had been an ongoing, these reality studios have been going on, for instance, for a long time. So you come into an alien context, a different environment, then you get your education, and you are expected to come up with an intervention.
Yes.
Of course, you carry a lot of bias, you carry a lot of, and the tools that you kind of get through your design education. And how we would be, what is the best way for the designer to get in there? I should maybe just also kind of take a pause here and then mention someone that both me and Helena have been very much inspired, the author of this book, Nabil Hamdi, Small Change, and he's author of several other books. He's coming from the development practice, and he's an architect by training, but he calls himself a development practitioner. And he talks about this. He did a lot of community-based projects, and he is hired by organizations, and he's kind of implementing his ideas on community building and partnerships through these organizationally funded projects. And he works with people. So the idea is that he looks at, not in a top-down way, but thinks about like these kind of collective co-creation work as partnerships is a kind of fundamental thing that I use in my practice, and Helena uses also in her PhD very much. So we thought that it's kind of quite important. Yeah, there's this very interesting example of the bus stop. I thought that, shall I
introduce it? Yeah, and then we can build on to that.
Go on with the alien. So it was about, in this Small Change book, he talks very briefly about an example of a bus stop, in the sense that in a place where he was invited to build up a community center, and how a community center can be formed, and he gives the example of a bus stop in a fishing town where women are getting the fish their husbands are catching, and then bringing it to a nearby town and waiting for the bus on the road that may or may not come in many hours, so they just keep on waiting. So instead of that, they kind of form a bus stop where the women are waiting for the bus, and meanwhile they start to sell the fish. And then slowly by slowly, they kind of gather the attention of people. People come there to buy things, and they put up electricity to the bus stop. and that's the only place where there's electricity and there's lights after the dark comes. So the kids come and start doing their homeworks, and then the candy sellers come and so on. So it becomes like a center, a community center, without a building in a sense. So in that case, he talks about like when an outsider comes into the community and then tries to establish some sort of a community center, it could also create conflict.
Yeah.
Because then it will be, even though it's with good intentions to bring the community together, the community center could be ordered by someone, a certain group of people, or it could be used only by a group of people, so it would create some sort of dualities without intending. Yeah, so I thought this was a very good example in like that you come and do something, you want to do a public good with the community center, but it's not always in the same way.
And you find an alternative way. An alternative way of building a community center.
Yeah.
And I mean, if I relate this to my work, I would very much say that you come as an alien, you come as a foreigner, as a visitor to a new place, and the experts are really the people that lives on this place, lives and work on this place. Mm-hmm. And as a designer, you have to be very observant and also curious to know, I mean, what is going on here, and to find out what is already happening. So not start something new, but identify potentials that could be resources to start with. It could be already existing, it could be a business, it could be a material like the water hyacinths, it could be some people that you meet, some entrepreneurs or whatever. But looking for starters is something that Nabil talks about, and also there's having this approach of an urban detective, looking for clues that can give you a kind of, that could trigger you and your imagination of what this could be. Mm-hmm. So that is kind of the first phase, I would say, when you come to a new place, that you must give it some time to observe and talk to people. And in my case, I would say that maybe we were a bit pushed to find this place, to find these people without really having the possibility to spend time. And so in the beginning, I actually, maybe I chose the wrong persons, because I was introduced to somebody that people said was the one I should talk to. But I found out that it should have been somebody else. And that is one lesson that I really learned, that maybe you should find out yourself and just give yourself some time, you know, and hang around with people before you take a decision or let somebody else take decision for you.
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take for you, for example, to meet that, you know, necessary right people, necessary people, and also come up with the idea that you are right now busy with? You said that you are in a way pushed to context that.
It was actually like this, that the first time I was in Kenya was in 2011, and then I was there as a teacher. I was visiting Kisumu for having a potential collaboration with the students. And then I was introduced to the water hyacinths, but also to several projects, like a community, a craft community-based organization, and I was also introduced to this faith-based organization and their project that was separated, and I saw potential in both of them. But when I came back as a researcher 1.5 years ago, I was not allowed to work with these people, because the organization that we work for, they decided we should work with another community and another place. And then I didn't have any linkages to this place. And I wanted to bring in these people, the potentials I saw, but there became some conflicts about this because they felt threatened when somebody else from outside, from their own region, should come. And so we actually, I had to, it took a while to decide who should I work with and in what way should I work. So, and actually in the end, I decided to work with the crafts entrepreneur, the community-based organization, and I kind of left the place that we were introduced to because I couldn't really find the entrance to the people there because they were well, I was introduced in the wrong way to this community. So I'm not sure if it's clear, but
yeah. There's this very nice in anthropological, I think, field studies. They say it in Turkey that when you go to a village, you're doing work. The first day you go to the coffee shop,
yes.
just to kind of make it clear who you are, what you do, and that's you have to do. Otherwise, you will be an outsider. You will never have the conversation. We have talked about this with Eray Çaylı actually some weeks ago, another researcher visiting here. So how to do this field work? You kind of introduce yourself and then kind of make yourself very transparent what you're aiming. So it's not these kind of second thoughts in the community. Yeah. But you had the chance, of course, the courses you mentioned. Before you start your PhD process, the research process, that you had the chance to go on a different context with this master course where each student is, or in small groups, they are making their projects. And it's a community-based project, so they do a lot of visits to different community groups, individuals. They visit houses. They look at different resources, and the students are coming not only from design background, but from business, from economy, journalism. So it's quite diverse. So that means that their projects are very diverse. So it's a good chance, actually. I was also in Kisumu with another group. I think it was not when you were there. It's a good way to kind of get to know, even just by shadowing or following the students, how they have been kind of talking to people. So that was a chance, and it's great that you had the chance to kind of take yourself out from the initial research environment and then get back to your context, and you could go with that.
Yeah, and then I found some people in that place that we were introduced to. I found some interesting people, but I could see that they were not organized, so they didn't have didn't have a voice because they were not organized. So we actually invited these people into a network with other people from outside. So they were slowly getting a voice by being introduced in a bigger community, and then they could go back to their own village and start organizing themselves because they got a lot of inspiration and feedback from the rest. So there have been these two parallel processes, you can say. But for me also, because the project is kind of distance-based, because I do my field studies in Kenya, but it's just like 3 weeks each time. And so most of the work is actually based on distance. Then it has been also important I have to work through other. It's not me that work directly with the communities. I have this crafts entrepreneur and some other people that I work very close to, and we have been talking earlier about this having different keys. I have a key to the research community and to the Swedish society and the strategic actors, while my partner in Kenya, he has the key to the community because he knows what is going on and who to talk to and so on. And that is also a nice kind of collaboration that we are different, we know different things, but we see each other as we are partnering up because we know different things. So, and when we have been reflecting on the process, we say that the key thing for us, I mean, the crafts entrepreneur is kind of my closest partner. It says that it's this trust that we have built up between each other, and the loyalty between us, and the interest in doing something good, but to keep together, and that this equalness, that we look on each other as equals. We are both needed to make this happen. Otherwise, you know.
I think the idea that you earlier also mentioned goes very much with what Nabil's thinking is about having people on the board as local experts.
Yeah.
It kind of shakes a lot of the designer or the architect's role in the sense that you're not really coming there to deliver this noble, knowledge that you were trained, tacit knowledge that you're going to convey to these people and then enlighten their lives. But it's actually that you're equal, or maybe they are the local experts and you have a different type of expertise. And it goes very well with your key analogy that you were talking about earlier, like how to drive the car.
Yeah, and we talk about this co-driver approach, that you are sitting in the front together with the driver, but the driver must be the local one because he knows the terrain, but I can be the kind of strategic support in the front, reading the map, trying to find the way. But it's a dialogue all the time. I mean, I can't be the driver because then the car stops. When I leave, the car stops. So I have to find the drivers locally and support them in how to run this car. But so it's and I think that what struck me very early was that we come to this new place with a lot of we are skilled in, we are good at talking, we have our PowerPoint presentations, we have all the technical equipment,
post-its.
Yeah, post-its, and then there is no electricity, or the post-it notes doesn't work because they fall down because the air is so humid and there is no walls really to put them on, and people can't read, they can't write. So I mean, it's a great failure to use the post-it.
Yeah, we can really come back to the failed tools then, because we are in the design education, we give and get all these different tools like brainstorming, making up presentations in nicely illustrated ways and so on, and using. But then we have all these assumptions for in that case, like you talk about, that it doesn't work simply because people can't read and write. And you have to be prepared, know your audience, like how you're going to work with them. Yeah. What was did you come up with any new tools to tackle that? I mean, I know you did.
Actually, because we wanted to, I could also see that poverty makes people a bit narrow-minded because they have to find money so they can survive for the next day or for the next week. Mm-hmm. So, and creativity was something that I was lacking, or kind of organized creativity. So I came up with a co-creative tool that actually was a rope making machine, and it was because of the baskets, they were made from ropes that were made by hand, and the ropes took very long time to make. So I thought maybe a small simple machine built from the resources they have could be a good tool. But then it worked out that the fiber was too weak. You couldn't really use that machine. But I could see that maybe you can use other materials in this rope making process. So when I came to this new place, because we invited 4 communities to be part of this project, and when we came to a new community, we brought the rope making machine, And we just started to make ropes. And we were like looking around, what kind of materials do you have? What kind of fibers? People came with bicycle tubes and plastic bags, and we just started to make ropes from what they had locally. And then it became like this co-creative activity that people, they also had to be 3 to make this, so they had to organize themselves. Who should run the machine, and who should we do this? And suddenly we were all equal, that we didn't have to talk, we just worked together and find out new ways to do these ropes. And then the kids could also take part of it, and they could make their own skipping ropes. And now they actually use this as a pedagogical tool to teach the children that instead of throwing the plastic bags, let's make something of it, and you see that you can use it for something else. So it also transformed into a tool during the test session. So.
And the way the rope making machine is made, you can talk about, like, you got some help from your father to make it as,
like, that was also interesting because he's a very technically skilled person, and I told him this should be as simple as possible. It doesn't have to be the best ropes in the world. It should have a certain quality, but it must be so easy and to produce that they can do it locally. So actually we experimented with old bicycle parts from bicycles, so that you can make it from the pieces that they already had. So it was like my design brief to my father was that I had to make him understand the context. So I said to him, no electricity, it should be as simple as possible. So, and I think that was also interesting to be, and that from that perspective, I was the user. I mean, I talked from the Kenyan, on behalf of the Kenyans, that because it would have been so easy for him to produce something that was very suitable in Sweden, but would never work in Kenya.
And then
I just wanted to ask something. For out of all stuff that you told, which is quite inspiring, it is at the end, I think, impossible for any kind of designer think even these kind of contexts or situations by only remaining in the design faculty or remaining in the design office and thinking about this, so people may need this, they may use these tools, etc., etc. It's all up to the idea of going there, being in that situation, and thinking together, collaboration, building together. It's quite interesting. So, maybe in Sweden, I can imagine that there are some kind of habit to have these kind of design collaborations internationally. I mean, you go abroad, get into a situation, get contact with the locals, try to understand stuff. Is it, the question is, maybe everyone, you are also, also that situation in the design faculty there. Is it some kind of, I don't know, some kind of thing in the academical program, or, I don't know, Helena, are you the only one who is dealing with this kind of stuff? Why don't you stay?
There are other researchers. There are other researchers. It's actually very common. Correct me if I'm wrong. There are a lot of other researchers working in foreign contexts, but not everyone is using the way that Helena is using the local networks and in kind of questioning this partnership and co-creation situation. There are other projects that are going on in Kenya or in other places, and I guess we'll all see how it all turns out. But I think I feel like we talk about all this sustainability, how it's going to be sustained after the designer is kind of gone forever.
Yes.
And
yes, I tried to design myself a way. That is the kind of approach I had from the beginning. How can we implement the knowledge so it becomes sustainable and other people can come and join and develop the process? You are not the one that is the savior. You are just one partner at a certain time that goes into this process, and the ownership has to be the local community, and to inspire them to build their own kind of organization. And and I think that's maybe has been the tricky part to and it has taken quite a long time to settle this way of working. So time is a very important factor in this, that often you maybe bring the students there for a 3-week study and then you go back home. But in our case, we have been there on and off for 2.5 years, and it happens a lot of things in between the time you are. I mean, the best impact for me is to see that, oh, things are going on even if I'm not there, because usually they do it because we are coming there, so they want to show us that we have done a lot since last time, and I think that I have tried to build this more like it's like a group of people that really loves craft, and we want to do things together, and how can we build something that is sustainable and where new people can come in and others can, you know, so it's more a network
building.
I want to add something provocative, because in a world where everybody wanted to be a famous designer, wanted to be on the cover of a, I don't know, famous lifestyle and design magazine, why should a designer just became invisible, organizing these processes and then vanish, even, you know, and let all that knowledge and the connections, etc. Because correct me if I'm wrong. This is a research-based process. Everything that you explained is has research as a basis. So about funding, about
practice-based research, which is not
practice-based. Practice-based research. So is it to understand that? I'm asking, is it a way also, you know, to become the practice itself, or it is something will remain with the title practice-based research? Because, you know, everybody is, you know, if you think these both statements that I made together, because, you know, designers want to be designers, right? You know, not all of them, but there is this attitude also. So could this kind of approaches, I know that there are examples, but again, this is a provocative question from me. Is there examples like this in terms of, you know, design practice directly only? You know, are there designers who are doing this as a way of practicing design?
Yeah, I would say that, you know, I have a background as an industrial designer. I've been making products for like 15 years, but then I realized that it gives more impact if I can use my creativity and linking people together. Then it becomes something else. And we have some problems here in Sweden that there are so many designers that are trained as form givers, but they can't handle this complexity of a social situation. And to be able to do that, you have to be a lot of different people involved. So I think future designers must learn how to work in a network or in a bigger organization, and identify their skills and roles and act in partnerships. And I think that maybe, I mean, I can in one way be quite unique, but like for this, for example, the business and design students at the HDK, they are kind of trained in this situation that you're more of an organizational support resource, support function in a way. And I mean, and in my case, I work with this design company. There are 6 designers educated, and they are the ones that have given shape to the baskets. But they say when they meet me that it's so good with you because you link, you make us see potentials in things that we have never thought of, and through this work we can get in contact with people, and we can do good in a deeper way than just producing and selling objects. So I think that everyone kind of enjoys being part of this because it's exciting to learn new things. And I think maybe if I wanted to, I could always draw and make a product. But right now, I'm just more concerned about making the network work, and settle it. So it's settled. But we have discussed with the Swedish design company that, okay, let's have a brainstorming session about what could be future products for Kenya and for the Kenyan market. And they also have asked me if I could be a strategic resource for them to look at future partnerships and projects that they could be part of to expand their work. So it's kind of interesting that I'm both supporting the Kenyan crafts community, but also the Swedish company. So and I guess I get satisfied when I see that things change. I mean, it's not that important that it becomes products in the end. It's fun to be part of something.
I think you have to have it in you, like as a designer, to want to vanish, like to make good that things should be working without you. But of course, if you want to have the best looking furniture that you want to go to Milan Design Fair, which there's nothing wrong with it, but there's a certain attitude and there's a certain will for it. But if you want to work with, like, if you kind of claim that you're working with communities, and if you are doing a project in there, there has to be like certain ways of operating. Yeah, and that doesn't go from like, I'm the big designer and I brought this knowledge to you. It doesn't work that way. No. It might work in other contexts in design, but not when you're working with communities. And Cenk is also involved in this, or is a project coordinator, is Architecture for All, where they have been restoring old school buildings. Like in there, they are also kind of immersing themselves for a longer period. Like the group stays there for the whole summer, or how long, Cenk?
It changed. It changed also with the project, because with some projects we do have only design workshops where we use the site as an environment to work with design students, architecture students, or students from different type of backgrounds. And with some projects there are in those, the construction process also involved, so we need to stay there more like 3 months periods or 2 months periods. But the contributors, the students and the architects, or anyone who want to be a part of the project, they change in specific periods of time. So in time, but whatever you explained, Helena, almost also involved in my experience knowledge, because for example, being a foreigner in an environment that you are there for the first time, etc., and the necessity to create tools to create a reasonable way of communication, etc., is also it's also so important. Was so important during our projects, because, for example, Ebran, you said that you go to the coffee shop and start this conversation with people there who are living in in the village or in the neighborhood, you know, whenever you are there, they are most of the time so kind to you. So whenever you ask some kind of questions, they are always, in a way, optimistic or positive, or always there is some kind of space in between. So they are, you know, they are really kind. They are in the conversation, but you can't never know. So you need to be a part of their life. So, you know, if you stay there more, if you involve in their life, if you join them in the field, in the everyday work, if you join them by helping any kind of stuff, etc., then you become a part of the community, as you mentioned, Helena. Then all the hidden knowledge or not vivid knowledge becomes in a way visible for you, and then you start to realize the needs, the real problems, the real necessary people who you have to be in contact, etc.
There's this very nice thing about, I think, with communities, even though if they like to work with you, if they really think they need your help and so on, when they tell things that they don't really tell the most crucial things, because maybe they haven't really thought about their lives in that sense. So maybe you have to talk like 10 times, 20 times about the same subject until you realize that there is something very important that is kind of coming from them. So it's very important, like the period of time that you spend with these people to kind of come up with something that would really work with. Or you would work with different, I call them like more design probes then, to come up with different, like the rope making machine is one thing, to kind of work with them and experiment with them is another thing, like with small scale things which wouldn't hurt their daily, you know, functioning, because these people have to work on a daily basis, so they have to earn money. There has to be something for them, because I know that in some community, like it's quite tricky, because you want to do workshop with them, but you kind of prevent them to work and earn money for that day. So there has to be something in for them, you know, like something that contributes to them in the work that you're, you know, presenting to them.
Yeah, and I think that I mean we were discussing, because there are more research involved, that if they should get money, you know, to take part of the workshops, but the Kenyans were very, you know, concerned about no money. We can give them food or refreshments, but no money. They have to be engaged and see the potentials themselves. But I mean, it was not until we actually started to prototype and, you know, it made visible, you know, for example, we made a playground activity where it was, in a way, it was a failure. I introduced it as a temporary, you know, just a few-day workshop where we should just create the space together and as a kind of co-creative activity. But my Kenyan colleagues, they saw this as a permanent solution, and it was not decided who was maintaining it, who had ownership, and so on. So in the end, the playground was kind of destroyed because people took the material and they cooked food on it. You know, they brought they took it down. But the interesting thing was that some people saw a potential in it, like the church. So they built their own playground on their own ground with their own people, you know, when we had left. And at this school where there were a lot of children without parents, I don't remember the name right now for it, but they also created this playground because they saw a potential. So I think as designers, what you can do is to start up something, just bring in some inspiration, but it should be interesting enough for the people to really see that this is something we have use for. So I'm kind of against this mapping workshops, because they don't really get something. It's more for you as a researcher. You don't really give something back. So I think we really need to be careful, and maybe it's better just to talk about yourself, show pictures on your family and share your daily life with them. But maybe that's more interesting, and then you learn to know each other by talking and by, you know. So this co-mapping workshops maybe comes much later in the process. So more think about relation building activities where you find a way to start communicating as equals in a way. But it's tricky. But I guess you have to learn by your own mistakes in a way.
All those experience for me, for example, that I got, all those works that I've been involved in the rural areas, for example, it also makes me think what I do or what I think on in the city context also. You know, because we are right now talking about Kenya or rural schools in Turkey, not most of the time in a big city context, but they are like villages, etc., etc. So it's like a pastoral thing in a way, because the context is actually in a smaller scale, much more community based, etc., etc. But the only geographical positioning is something different. If you also think yourself in the city, in the context of the city, and in the context of neighborhoods, etc. This is how I feel out of my experience at the end. So I also start to look at the context city in a different way out of that experience, because whatever is needed in rural areas is also in a way something different but quite similar or connected. Whatever I experienced, whatever we experienced in the city. So it also makes me think as a designer, as a someone curious, and someone try to deal with the practice of architecture. It also makes me think about this kind of stuff, because again, for example, the experience that I got in the villages, whenever we start to do something, we just paint a wall, basically, just painting a wall. It creates some kind of attention, and there is, for example, locals, villagers, they just pass by, guys with motorbikes, or women with younger children are playing and women are watching, etc. And a couple of days later, you create this kind of conversation with them, and whatever they say is, we could also paint this wall, but we didn't. So this is the they say that this is a big problem, because in a way we are able to paint it, but we never tend to paint it. But we can also make it, and unless you go there, do something, as you mentioned, maybe just create some kind of action, and then it creates other types of reaction afterwards, rather than planning, designing, planning again and designing it again. Try to push people to involve into something. It's most of the time much more efficient to.
And maybe we should start thinking more as interventionists, that we are doing certain activities, and the objects that we create, they are strategic. It's a tool for something else to happen. It's just a starting point, a catalyst, and they could. I mean, it's a prototype. It's just a test thing. So I think that is and also maybe where if you feel that, oh, what can I'm a designer, I love to create things with my hand and draw and give shape to objects. You should just have in mind that how can you use that creativity and that skills in these more strategic prototypes that could lead to a new activity or other processes to start.
Yeah.
So that is maybe the main conclusion for me, that the prototypes and the design interventions are the methods that I really want to explore further. And how can we bring that back to Sweden? How can we use that in our daily life? Because we also have these kind of issues back at home.
Yeah, that's true. Because when we go somewhere else, people who are living there in a way alienate you, and whenever we come back, actually we alienate ourselves from the existing life that we are living in. Like we are distancing ourselves from whatever happens, and it's also some kind of problem. This is for sure. And I also give a great importance whatever what you said actually. When you first started to describe your work. In a way, designers are. Yelta is here, by the way. Yeah, and designers are in a way reminders in that context that you mentioned. Because you are someone curious, you are someone who wanted to be a part of that community, for example, or that craftsmanship. So you are there, you start to build something, and you make lots of mistakes, for example, and some kind of observer, a local observer who are observing whatever you do, they come. This is also an experience that I had during these works. You nail something, right? Basically, you make it, and you cannot do it, of course. Don't inhale and exhale into the. So he just rushed, and he's like. Yeah. And they're observing you, but remain in silence, right? For the first time, the second time, and the third time, they just come next to you and said to you that, okay, this is the wrong way of doing it. I'm a craftsman, I'm a master builder or something like that, and they join you and start to build with you. And in a way, actually, they do have that knowledge, or they know that knowledge, but never practice it in a way, in that way. So, as a designer, you are there as a reminder at the same time to remind them the abilities that they have. I say they, but actually it's also a reminder also for us, because whenever we are there as designers, as architects, we also re-explore our abilities. To build something, to organize people, to do something, to cook. I don't know, those basic stuff that you, in a way, forget from time to time while you are with.
By the way, welcome, Yelta. We've been talking for a long time. I don't know if it will be.
Sorry,
Sorry, you are late.
I'm late. I'm not a bit late.
Obviously.
Well, I guess you will hear afterwards or something what we have talked. No, just getting back to this rope making machine, I thought it was really interesting in the sense that this very familiar and easily usable tool that people just go and try themselves. So it's not really the designer showing how to do it in a way, but they could. It's so simple that they could just work on it and then actually show the designer,
And the very, very interesting thing with this rope machine was that usually it's the women that makes the ropes, but since it was a machine, the men suddenly got interested, and it kind of became new constellations of people, and they had to communicate to make this rope happen. So it kind of opened up for new possibilities of collaboration. So
there's also another thing that I was meaning to ask. When I was in Kenya, the thing I like, so there is a very deep gender divide.
Very much.
They work and they communicate and so on. But as an outsider, you're a woman. Of course, you're coming from a different context that you could talk in a different way other than the local women were talking. Yeah. How are you kind of balancing those because you are exercising some source of power by kind of inviting these people into your process.
And actually the main our target was to create new livelihoods for these people, the fishing communities, and the focus was the women. But my first entrance was the men. I mean, it was the men that I was introduced to, and I must say that the man that I work with, we have a very good. It feels like it could have been somebody here in Sweden. It's no big difference, but they looked they thought it was very strange that I worked with the men, that the man and the woman could work together. They thought we had a relationship, they thought it was really strange. But and this man is also, he's working with women a lot, so he's familiar, he knows how to work with women, and I think that through this rope making machine and through the craft, that is their skills, then it was so easy to get in contact with them, that the craft was kind of the interface that bridged between the Western and the, so I think that is also very interesting for designers to think of, that the craft, since the rural areas often have a craft intense production, that could be the link to find the people and especially the women. So the cooking and craft is a good way to get in contact with the women.
Yeah, and then kind of to get them locals as experts, so to kind of get some sort of an equal process.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the association, we also have this experience with women, children, kind of women, children centers in the not rural areas, but in the other cities around Turkey. So it's quite also interesting situation to work on. It's, I don't know, it's so in a way triggering as a designer. But Evren, you are also big supporter of this proactive woman movement. Maybe I can call this in that way. But it's also something strange, because I really wanted to link this with the context of the cities. Even though there are so many people living in a different type of context, let's say, all these connections are also in a way weak, because we are not doing so many things in the cities, right? We do have some kind of regular basis everyday life, and our production skills is in a way narrowed. We don't produce something.
Are you talking from an ordinary citizen perspective, or are you talking from your architecture?
I'm talking about myself.
As an architect.
As an architect, as a
flaneur.
As a flaneur, yeah. As a jobless man.
I'm just thinking, there are all these networks that we are trying to kind of make visible, are also, of course, existing in the city. We just don't have, not always the education kind of gives us the tools, and also gives us, I think, a wrong assumption that the tools that the education is providing us will unlock all the locks that we see along the way, which is not the case in most of the time. Maybe, I don't know, there's a big problem in the pedagogy of all this, I think, and it's quite fundamental, and I don't know how to do it. I don't know, it's like a little bit unschooling to get into experimenting, getting your ego a little bit down, reflecting and observing in a better way, training your eye, so training yourself to see all these different networks, and there are maybe skills and things that are happening that we don't see, rural or urban, doesn't matter. Everywhere seems that nothing is happening. Something is happening.
And I think that, I mean, I have made several playground interventions in Gothenburg, in the city, and by building these temporary playgrounds, it attracts people because there is an ongoing process. I work with craftsmen, and we build up these temporary structures, and people are invited to come and build. Some people, they just want to observe, but you always start talking because you are doing something visible for others, and especially men get really interested because it's a kind of construction thing. I don't know what it is, but they are really interested. But of course, the children are there as they bridge. They start building, and they bring their parents or their grandmother, and suddenly, when you work together physically, you start talking and you learn a lot. Instead of just observing somebody else, you do it together. So I think this co-creative activity, that we should bring that into the cities more. I mean, to use and make visible these creative and innovative processes. Instead of sitting at our design offices, we should bring that out, in the space, and work with people, more. Do interventions, and through that learn about what is needed. So
yeah, great.
Maybe it's a good point to stop. It's been an hour, or what do you think?
Yeah.
Shall we?
I think so. It was at the end a great statement, and I think we got a really wide range of caption of the whole topic. From beginning or personal practices. We also, talked about lots of stuff and in different scales. So, thank you so much for joining and being a part of it. As I mentioned, this is our last lunch session, which is a, sentimental moment. Because, it was a really long 6 week of broadcasting. But
wow.
I am so glad that we managed to have this long session with you, Evren. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for introducing us, Helena. And also thank you for sharing your moments, your time.
Thank you very much for my stuff, and I'm so sorry again.
Thank you for your contribution, Yelta. It was so valuable. So thank you and take care. I think we will be keep in touch. Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.